Well, welcome back guys to another little episode of Whitebeard's Kitchen. What I'm going to do this evening is a Xacuti curry. It's from Goa. So let's get cooking. Absolutely wonderful. I've done this before at home. Okay guys, so the first thing I'm going to do is marinate the chicken, and I have this, it's chicken thighs. I've cut them into bite-sized pieces. So what I'm going to put in is half a teaspoon first of all of turmeric powder. So I'm just going to put in half a teaspoon now of that. There we are, just sprinkle that in. I have then my good old garlic and ginger paste I'm going to scrape in. So roughly about a tablespoon of garlic and ginger paste. And as I've said before, you know, use fresh garlic and fresh ginger if you can get it. Please don't use that stuff out of the tubes because it's kind of preserved in vinegar. So there we go, that goes in. A half teaspoon of salt. I'm not adding that in because I added in roughly about a half teaspoon of salt just to help me crush up or pound the ginger and garlic. So that's that. Nothing like it. In wedding ring off, if we can get it off. No, we can't, to hell with it. Anyway, give this a good mix. And what I'm going to do is, I should mention as well, before I forget, 2 tablespoons, and I'm going to eyeball this, of lemon juice. Sorry, my fault. There we go. I haven't done a video in a wee while and things have been a bit up topsy-turvy with kind of family bereavements and things like that. So there we are, 2 tablespoons. Now in with the hands, give that a really good mix round. Okay. Make sure the pieces of chicken are coated as much as possible in the turmeric and the lemon and that ginger and garlic paste. Okay. There we are. And hopefully that should be enough, and I'll have a yellow hand for the rest of the evening and probably tomorrow and God knows how long. But nothing like it. All this spoon malarkey can't be bothered with. You don't get things mixed up and marinated and massaged into your meat properly. So there we go, that's that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is make the Xacuti paste, and what I'm going to do is, because there is coconut in this dish, both desiccated coconut. Unfortunately I can't get the fresh pieces where I live, so I'm going to use that, and there's also coconut milk. So I'm going to use, I need 2 tablespoons of oil going in, so I'm going to use the good old coconut oil. But if you don't have coconut oil, do you know, vegetable oil, olive oil if you want, sunflower oil. If you want to use ghee, butter ghee, in other words clarified butter, you can do that. So there we are. That's roughly 2 tablespoons of oil or coconut oil going in. So I'm just going to let that heat ever so gently. That's the oil heated. I'm going to kind of turn it to medium low. And the first thing that is going to go in, if providing I don't drop everything, I have lots of little spices here to make up the Xacuti masala. So it's a tablespoon, not 2, 1 tablespoon of coriander seeds. And all I'm going to do is saute those for roughly about 2 minutes. So I'll be back and show you the other ingredients that are going in. That's those sauteed, so to speak. So the next thing that I'm going to add in is 6 red chilies. I am using Kashmiri Chillies. It's entirely up to you. You can use 6, I don't know, chilies that maybe come from China. There is by Xacuti Chillies, I think that's the name of them, that are an Indian chili as well. And what I'm going to do is, it should be black peppercorn, but I have freshly ground, and I should say done in a pestle and mortar, of black pepper. So 1.5 tablespoons of black pepper going in. So I'll saute that for another 2 minutes. Okay, so I've got this now kind of at a medium heat, just to saute particularly with the red chilies that have went in. So What I'm going to add now is a Star Anise. Okay, so that's going in. You can add an inch piece of cinnamon stick or cinnamon stick. I'm adding Cassia Bark, same thing. So I've roughly about an inch of it going in. And then I have also 6 cloves, 6 or 7 cloves going in as well. So I'll saute that for another 2 minutes. That's that sauteed, and what I'm now adding in is roughly a teaspoon of Fennel Seeds. I'm going to add in, going in. And we'll saute that for another 2 minutes as well. So mix that round. And say I have it kind of a medium heat. Don't want things to burn, so you need to keep stirring this constantly, by the way. I know you've seen me leave it for a second to get bits of spices, but just keep stirring it round constantly, because you don't want anything to burn. You don't want the chilies to burn. You certainly don't want the coriander seeds or anything like that to burn. I'm going to have this down now, I think, to medium low. I can see the heat kind of surfacing up a little bit. And now for 2 teaspoons of poppy seeds. So that's those going in as I spread them in with my fingers. Okay, and if you see these little white bits, that's just some of the seeds from the chilli. You can de-seed your chilies if you wish. I generally don't in most curries that I do. I do like that little bit of heat. So I'm just going to saute this now for a minute, roughly. Kind of turn this down to medium low, because the poppy seeds can burn quite quickly. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a large onion that I have just roughly sliced, not diced. So what I want to do is get some colour onto these, probably like a golden brown colour. So I'll be back once and show you that. Oh, something which I forgot to put in on this, I'll put it in now, is a piece of mace. So I'm still waiting for the onions to brown, so that's the mace, and I should have probably had that in when I put the cinnamon stick in, but anyhow, it'll be fine. Okay, so I've got the onions brownish, they will do just nicely. So now what I'm going to add in is about 1 1/4 cups. I have just desiccated coconut. If you can get the fresh pieces or fresh coconut, it should be great. So anyhow, so I'm going to turn this down to like kind of a medium low. What I'm looking for is to brown the coconut, and hopefully there'll be no moisture left. So again, it's a matter of keeping your eye on this and constantly stirring it, and making sure that, as I say, it doesn't go on overly dark brown, but a nice golden colour will do the job. Okay, so this is a kind of obviously like a golden brown colour. I don't want to have it a deep brown colour, something like you would have maybe for other different curries, particularly something like one of the nicest foods in the world. I've cooked it, it's on my little channel, beef rendang, so which needs to be a really deep brown colour. So as I say, this is just a nice golden colour. I'm going to turn this off the heat, put it onto a plate to cool. Take my chicken out that I had been marinating. That marination of chicken, 20 minutes is enough. I've had it in for an hour. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to make any difference. So say I'll be back once I get this chucked onto a plate, because I want it to cool and it'll go into a blender. And the longer I leave this now, even though I have my flame off in a hot pan, it will will continue to cook. Okay, so again, I have heated some coconut oil, and what I'm now going to do is, this is a diced onion this time. I have roughly about 2 small medium onions just going to go in. Yes, and you'll see a mixture of red and white or yellow onion, whatever you wish to call it. It doesn't really matter. I generally prefer red, but I've some white kicking about, so I thought I'd use those up. So again, I kind of want to cook this to the point that it's a golden brown colour, so that will probably take about 5 minutes or so. I might just add a little tiny taste of salt to draw out some of the moisture from the onion. I don't need a load, so probably about 1/4 teaspoon, because it's rock salt that I'm using. not your ordinary table salt. So I'll just let that saute away, or whatever you wish to call it. You could call it buna, if you really want to be authentic. I never remembered the difference between puni and buna, but anyway, and I've cooked hundreds of curries. I can never remember. Anyway, so I'll leave that and let those kind of brown off. Obviously I'll keep a little eye on them. I can put the lid on if I wish, which I think I will do. There we are. So in we go. Okay folks, so I have the onions browned as much as I want them. You can see like a little brown hue off them. Very hard, I know, with the red, but they are what they are. You know, you could use 2 medium onions, my God, 2 medium tomatoes. I'm using 2 large. Lucky enough, I have those that are on the vine. Normally, I don't have that kind of snobby stuff, what do you call it, but I got them reasonably cheap the other day in a supermarket nearby. So that's the onions in, or the tomatoes. You know, you can see the red, don't listen to me. So, what I want to do is obviously break the tomatoes down a little bit. So I've got this to medium high. I'll keep stirring this from time to time. I'm going to put the lid on, and I'll be back once the tomatoes have kind of broken down a bit. Okay, so the tomatoes are breaking down nicely, but that is not what I am back for to show you. What I'm going to show you is, and it's near blasted, I don't know, with the amount of hard spices in this. So I don't know, hopefully, whether you can see this. I don't want it going in. This is about the consistency of the paste that you're looking at. I don't want to put any of that in quite yet, but there we are. So it is a thick paste. I really have blitzed this as best as possible. I've one of those little ninja blenders. It's quite powerful. And holy God, this, a few minutes ago, the container was absolutely boiling hot, considering that the ingredients were cool when they went in. So it just goes to show you in terms of that, but I'm quite pleased with that. So that's what it kind of looked the last time that I did this. So I'm just going to let the tomatoes break down a little bit more. I'll see you shortly. Okay, so the tomatoes have well broken down, the onions are definitely nicely browned. So in with the chicken, and I'm not sure whether I said how much chicken I was putting into this. So the marinated chicken, there's roughly about 550, 600 grams. So there we are, so that's that in. Going to turn this up to a kind of medium to high heat and stir the chicken round for about 5 minutes or so, just to get a good colouring on it. And then what I will be able to do then is add the masala paste in, the Xacuti masala paste in, or that I made. So there we are. So this is back up to high. I just want to get some colour on this, so I'll be back shortly. Okay folks, so that's the chicken. I've been kind of stirring that constantly, just for about 5 minutes on kind of almost high heat. Now I'm going to turn this down just to put the paste into a low. What I don't get out of the blender, I'll probably add a little taste of water and give it a blitz. So try and get as much of that paste in now as possible. So one needs to get themselves a larger spoon, as in what I mean a longer spoon, I should say. So get all that paste in as much as humanly possible. And the aroma from this, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. It really is. This is worthwhile doing. You know, if you've got a little bit of time at the weekend, you want to do a nice curry. Probably not overly spicy or hot, but hot enough. And most of the spices come actually from the chilies, and Kashmiri chillies are not like most chilies. They are reasonably, yes, there's a bit of a kick from them, but compared to other chilies, you know, they are mild. So, as you see, I've got most of that out. I'll whip a bit of water around that. Okay, so I'm going to turn this to kind of like low to medium. Just make sure this is well incorporated. And along with the chicken and the tomatoes. So again, I'll stir this for about 5 minutes or so. I'll be back in a few seconds. Hey folks, so I don't know whether you can see this or not, but you might see towards the edges and maybe there in the middle, kind of maybe the oil is separating ever so slightly. So that's fine. I am now going to just add in, I don't have tamarind paste, so it's tamarind sauce that I have. So I'm going to add in roughly about a tablespoon. So again, I'm going to eyeball this, and this is entirely up to yourself. But okay, so that's just over probably a tablespoon and a half of tamarind sauce. If I had had tamarind paste, I would have maybe only put in, well, that's probably, yeah, tablespoon and a half. So of tamarind sauce going in. Probably would have put maybe about 3/4 of a tablespoon of the paste, or if I actually had tamarind pulp and created the juice from that, I could have put a slight bit more in. But hey ho, you have what you have. Next time, remind oneself when an Asian or Indian supermarket to get tamarind paste. I'm just going to add in now a slight dash of water. And as I said, I used the blender. I've put some, there we are. So I'm going to say probably about 100 mils, 150 mils of the water, and you can see I've used as much of that paste. Got all the paste out, so happy days. That's be a happy little bottle. So give this a good stir. I'm going to now turn this kind of to medium low, slightly on the heading towards low, but not overly low, because what I have, I'm using chicken thighs, and chicken thighs are forgiving. I will come back from time to time and stir this, so I'm going to let this cook for about 30 minutes, and hopefully that will be it near ready. Lid on, I'm away to get a beer. So the curry is cooking away nicely. While the better half, my darling wife isn't about, I'm putting some coriander in, as long as it's well cooked and not put in at the end, because she detests this stuff. Doesn't like can put up a coriander powder, obviously, which you need in most Indian recipes. Not this one, no, there has been coriander seeds. So in with that, while she's waiting on dinner patiently, I'm just going to add in roughly about half a teaspoon of rock salt, just for a bit of taste, but that's about it. I can always add a bit more in at the end, if needs be. So there we are, lid back on, probably another, I'm going to say 10-15 minutes to go, and that's it ready. Okay, so the last ingredient to go into this, and I suppose it's entirely up to you. I wouldn't put a full can in, that's for sure. So I'm going to put in roughly about just over half a cup of coconut milk in, which is probably about, I'm going to say, there's a taste of the water. So and just give that a stir. I've now turned this down to a low when I'm giving this a stir. I'll put the lid back on again, let it cook for roughly about 5 minutes, maybe just turn it ever so slightly up. And as I say, had this been chicken breast, the 30 minutes I would have cooked probably on a low, but chicken thigh is kind of forgiving, and which is great. So I had it kind of on a medium when cooking. So I'm going to pop the lid back on, and tonight I'm just going to have pita bread, whatever way people wish to pronounce it, rather than rice, just for a change. and something easy as well. Well folks, now for the taste test. So here we are. So I'm just having pita bread, whatever you want to call it with this. So get a bit of chicken. This is absolutely, it really is delicious. There's a bit of heat from it, from the chilies, but you can taste the likes of the Star Anise, the likes of the cinnamon coming through, the coconut as well. Obviously there's a bit of kick again from the black pepper. You can taste, again, the cloves. Everything's just right and beautifully balanced. Definitely do try this Goan Xacuti Curry. Obviously chicken, do it with whatever you wish. So from Whitebeard's Kitchen, look after yourself, your family, your friends. See you soon. Rock on. Bye for now.